3, 2, 1. To sleep, a chance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in this sleep of death, what dreams may come. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the hashtag Save Charlie podcast.
Hello.
I am Cora, the host. There is a sub-host.
I am Ryan, the sub-host.
The auxiliary host. The backup host in case of catastrophic mechanical failures.
Yes.
We have a packed itinerary for this episode.
Yes, I have
truly,
multiple tabs open this time.
But before we begin with that, I have an exciting announcement. This podcast is now an audiovisual experience. Before you, you are seeing the multi-hued tones of a Photoshop gradient that I made in 30 seconds. That's right, there's video now. I have no plan on what to use it for, but enjoy. You're welcome. Ryan, have you got anything to say about this gorgeous image that I made for you? Any praise?
I think it's very cool, and I can't wait to see it in post.
Thank you. All right. What are our topics? Let's go news. Charlie news.
Yeah.
Charlie's been doing good.
Yeah.
Most importantly, Charlie's been sending me rap pics.
Yeah, Charlie's been possum posting.
It's true. I've been looking at games to play that are like not reaction time heavy, and I had a genius idea. So what I did is I found like a one of those apps where you play Scrabble with people, async.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've been playing Scrabble with Charlie, and I keep winning. It's awesome. But Charlie's score has been getting better every game, so I think I'm any moment now I'm gonna get caught up on.
Yeah, you've plateaued.
So we've played. We're about to finish our third game. My highest score is 385, with Charlie getting 268. So I'm just flexing right now, like that I'm better at than Charlie at Scrabble. I'm actually surprised with how fun it's been.
You gotta get Charlie on that chess grind too.
I'm not as big on chess. I think Scrabble's fun because it's kind of like a crossword puzzle, but async and multiplayer. And Charlie can play funny words, and I laugh. Charlie played woke, was good. I played gamer.
Gamer can't be an officially recognized term, is it?
Gamer, yeah, it's a word.
Yeah, I
Games.
suppose it is.
Yeah. So if you want to play Scrabble with either of us, you can grab the app. I won't say what it is on air because I don't want to advertise it without them paying us. But if you want to sponsor us, then and you own a Scrabble app, then like hook me up.
Yeah, that sounds cool though. I would like in on this.
Now, Charlie has requested that we play Final Fantasy VII. This is an exploratory mission because neither of us have played Final Fantasy VII before.
I've lightly played.
Okay.
I've never left the first town.
Okay. I tried to play it last episode and it didn't work. And I've since modded the game extensively and it looks a lot better now and also runs. So that's good.
Yes, I have played I have listened to a podcast where they played it though, so I'm aware of it. And I played half of the first remake, but the entire first remake takes place in that same town. So even in the remake, I've never left the first fucking town.
Funny.
Like I can't get out.
So our big fans will know that Ryan's entire personality is defined by a love of Final Fantasy.
It's Final Fantasy and Resident Evil. That's
you're
all
like
I got.
the hipster because you don't like the most popular. Well, you've never played the most popular one, which is this one.
Yeah, well, I think 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all the kind of much beloved, but 7 is the most beloved by far, but I also haven't really played 8 or 9 much, like, at all.
I played...
10's the only hyper-popular one I've played.
I think I played 12 as a kid and didn't beat it. and that was the only one I ever tried. And then I have since played like a bunch of them because I've played 14, and I've also beaten 1 through 5 on Pixel Remasters, which are good fun if you like old RPGs. But I kind of hate Final Fantasy. Like, I like hating it, but I kind of hate it. So yeah, we'll see. All right, so that's coming up later.
I'm just very personal question. I'm curious, like, which do you think you like more between Resident Evil and Final Fantasy?
Oh, no contest. I actually like Resident Evil. Like, unironically.
Okay, there's not that layer of irony to it.
I like the 2, 7, kind of 8, 4 remake, and 3 in maybe that order, roughly. I don't know. Are like all really good games. Like, actually good.
Yeah.
Anything before 2 remake, 1 remake is fun in a historical sense. I played original 3, and it was fun in a historical sense, but like a bad game, by today's standards.
7 was actually the mark of the new era.
Oh, you're right. 7 is the first truly, like, actually just a good game, like unironically just a good game.
2 remake was after that.
And when I say the first, I do mean like with a modern like non-nostalgia and not taking into account when it came out. like RE1 is fun and cool and a classic, but if it had released today, it would be trashed, That's how I'm thinking, because I didn't play any as a kid. But I liked the movies as a kid. Because this is really funny. This is a good embarrassing story. Basically, we didn't really get many like English language like films and games and stuff. But there was a secondhand shop. When I was a teenager, I found like a bucket of DVDs that were like €1 each, and I didn't know what like the name, like I didn't recognize any of the names, but I had vaguely heard of Resident Evil, and I found one in there, so I bought it, and I bought like a couple, like someone's collection, and they were the really crappy Mila Jovovich ones, but I was really into them, and I had a huge crush on Mila Jovovich.
Which is natural.
Which I think is natural. If you watch the film, you'll understand. I mean, I think that's the primary appeal of the films. But that first one's actually quite good. Like, it's kind of an Aliens parody that isn't honest about being a parody, but if you watch it as a parody, it's quite funny. And
you have Michelle Rodriguez playing the Michelle Rodriguez character.
Yeah, she's doing the thing that she was born for. Like, thank you. She's also crush on her. So, like, good stuff. And it actually inspired RE4, the fucking laser scene, is in that movie, which came out first. So, like, clearly the Resident Evil guys agreed. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, since we have a packed schedule today, we're probably going to head straight into the news, and we're gonna summarize some points. Now, it's been a few weeks, so there's a few things. So, first off, Canada is on fire, and it's causing New York to suffer. Ryan, what do you have to say about that?
The fires were actually relatively close. There was a lot of fires in my province specifically.
Yeah, at an undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location. 1 of 13. You'll never guess which.
Yeah.
No, sorry, 1 of 10. There's territories that are not.
Wait, do you not know how many provinces are in your own country?
No. I screwed up. It's because it's 10 and 3, but you often say 13 provinces and territories. But
okay.
Anyhow, but yeah, fires were close-ish, but where I live got fucking stormed on super hard. So nothing I know of burned, which is good.
Yeah. My favorite.
Sorry, New York, though.
Yeah. My favorite thing about this was the American headline, like news headlines, that made it look like they were blaming Canada, like, like as a country, and
this was a targeted global attack.
Super
We all put it to vote.
Oh my god. Okay, in all 6 pixels of this thumbnail image, the viewers can see a headline: "Smoke from Canadian wildfires engulfs NYC skyline." And the way that they were talking about it really made it sound like it was Canada's fault. But I just found like an apparently unironic Fox News article titled Jesse Waters, Canada's dropped a smoke bomb on us, parenthesis, Canada owes us reparations.
Oh my
and then
god.
Subtitle, Waters wants an apology from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So not only does he need to apologize to the entire black community, but also now he's killing. Yeah, Canada smokes out New Yorkers. Fuck, this website sucks. All right, get me out of here. Like, it's really funny. Also, I guess I should say it's not funny. Like, climate change is serious, and we're all gonna die.
Oh,
but,
yeah, that bit's not funny. The headlines are very funny.
Fox News crying about it is kind of funny. Trump got charged. This is in my notes, but it's so old that this is from the previous time he got charged. Now he's like screwed. Like,
oh yeah.
Have you heard about, like, I guess, Charlie, if you haven't heard this, so you know how Trump was like saying that he declassified all the documents with his mind? Well, there's now a recording of him saying that he didn't declassify them as he's showing them to someone on the recording. It's a bit awkward.
I haven't listened to it, but I read the transcript, and it's so funny.
It is really bad. He's actually apparently
I
he's
probably
actually
shouldn't be
in trouble.
doing this. Hey?
This is actually like full on treason. Like he is really really in trouble. So good, cool.
That's why it's
Orange Man
really
bad.
important. Yeah, it's really important to not have a very distinguishing voice. Because if that happened to me, it's like, well, was it me or was it like Ben Shapiro? Who can say, right?
Yeah, true.
Like...
Yeah, true. What else? I'm gonna try and skip through. We've got so many of these. In the latest saga and the ongoing collapse of capitalism and like the Western media sphere, so the Reddit CEO has decided to increase the prices of API access, which means that all the people that make bots or third-party apps like go out of business. But it also means that like moderators can't moderate because they use like apps to make moderation easier. And there are also some apps that provide like accessibility features. So it's kind of a bad move.
Yeah.
You know, you would think it's a bit of a bad move, but he did it anyway. And a bunch of subreddits shut down in protest. Now, unfortunately, they announced an end date for their strike, so he just, like, waited it out and put out an internal email being like, we're fine, don't worry. But I think some subreddits are continuing it. Others are doing, like, more creative types of protests. So r/pics is just pictures of John Oliver now, which is cool.
I think some as well just had, like, their... mods like removed and replaced.
Right,
I
yeah,
think.
so that happened later because so the middle step was then like some subreddits started a form of protest where they would just swear a lot in an attempt to get the subreddit rated 18 because Reddit can't put ads on adult subreddits.
Oh.
So there's some like basically everyone hates him. We'll see if he makes it out of this one. But like you say, then it got even worse with Spez removing both quietly and openly moderators that were doing shutdowns and replacing them with like scabs. So it's a very interesting
scabs. But...
yeah, like it's very very interesting. I hope Reddit dies. I don't know.
It is kind of. In some ways, it's cool to see a digital version of like classic history play out.
Yeah, but what's funny is that then Spez was calling the moderators like bourgeoisie and stuff because they like have too much power, which is something he'd never said anytime previously until now.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I kind of would love to see another service replace it, but I don't know if there's a good candidate. I have a Mastodon, but it's not like something I read very often, so I don't know.
It's tough because these things kind of just like happen.
Yeah, you have to wait for enough people to like jump ship.
Yeah.
Speaking of jumping ship.
Oh no.
If you're still on Twitter, get out. So Elon Musk has now like pinned Matt Walsh's transphobic documentary to the top of his own Twitter timeline. And he also recently announced that he now considers the word cis to be a slur, and that using it is harassment and can get you banned from the platform. Twitter is a dying beast crumpling beneath
Yeah.
the pressure of its failures. And
Worse than both of those, he also killed possum posting.
no, they'll live. You can't kill them. They'll come back. I believe it. Yeah. As part of this, Twitter is also making it more difficult for third-party bots and applications to run using Twitter's like API, which is cool as always. So yeah, the entire like face of social media websites has been stable for so long that it's kind of crazy to think that we're about to lose one or two at the same time. I don't know if they're going to survive. I don't know if you can turn around Twitter. I think Reddit could be saved. I don't know about Twitter. It's possible, but
maybe, yeah.
as part of the weird Matt Walsh video thing, Elon like fired, was it like the brand's trust and safety advisor or something? So presumably there was some internal arguments and he overruled a bunch of people. Remember when he announced he was going to be only like own the company but not be the CEO and he would be hands off? And then he didn't do that. Yeah, so Tesla stock continued dropping, blah, blah, blah. Speaking of things that are dropping,
every segue you do, I keep thinking you might be talking about that thing.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
Speaking of dropping, everyone who has stock in the Wagner Group, I don't know if they're publicly traded.
Oh, okay, yes.
They have been shooting planes out of the sky in Russia, which means that those planes are dropping. See what I did there? That was a segue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the coup's already over. I was really excited to talk about this one, but it's already ended.
Yeah, within I think less than 24 hours, right?
Yeah, basically, at some point yesterday, the leader of the Wagner Group announced that he was like marching to Moscow with like 25,000 guys to get some answers. And along the way, they were being shelled by the Russian army, and they shot down some Russian planes, which Russia do not have very many planes at this point. Now, the joke everyone's been making is before the war, everyone thought Russia was the second strongest army in the world. After a few weeks, we realized they weren't the second. They were the second strongest army in Ukraine, but now they are the second strongest army in Russia. It seems
How
like
have I never heard that one before?
Oh yeah, it's
so
a classic. So it seems like the debate was basically between the leader of the Wagner Group was basically trying to imply that Russia had failed to give him the supplies and that he needed to win the war, and that's why he had failed. And he used a lot of populist rhetoric and was like, I'm going to go kick out the oligarchs. The Russian army tried shelling them, but a lot of Russian soldiers were just joining them and being like, revolution now. It's coup time, baby. And Putin has, I think he fired his defense minister and like kowtowed. So now the Wagner Group are like back in service, which is very funny. Can you imagine if like Blackwater like raided the White House and then like the US president was like, I will fire a government minister to appease you. It's very interesting. Putin looks very weak right now.
Like comparing mercenaries in like fantasy fiction to real world is just like, man.
Yeah. So I've seen theories that, or like whispers, I think this is a conspiracy for now, but that the Wagner Group, one of the conditions for them not doing a coup was that they be redeployed from Ukraine to Africa. Because if you don't know, they own a lot of like gold mines in Africa and they like get hired by like dictators over there. So if that's the case, this is very interesting because that means that like, who's gonna do the war in Ukraine now? Because the Wagner Group are apparently stronger than the Russian army, and they're leaving.
Yeah, that's for them a bad sign.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think that the worst case scenario now for Ukraine is that they both start fighting again alongside with no friction. In which case, this was just like a few days of rest and like wasting some money, and they blew up some of their own planes. So it's pretty good news all around. Hopefully, like it causes more doubt and like people maybe start questioning the war more. I feel like if I was just a random Russian soldier and we were being attacked by our own guys, and then some of my friends went and joined the guys that attacked us, and then they shot down my other friend who was in a plane, and like. Then Putin was like, now we're fine, we're cool, I forgive you. What do you even do if you're one of the people that seceded to the Wagner Group? Like, do you go back to the army now?
I can't imagine that would be very good.
Do you work for the Wagner Group now?
I guess you'd have to,
Because you're
right?
still a deserter then.
Yeah, it's like that or get like court-martialed.
Did you get like,
worse.
because there hasn't been an official pardon for them. So like, what do they even do? Speaking of pardons, there's a lot of sort of theory that, I mean, the guy that runs the Wagner Group, is he gonna like fall out a window? Because how can he not, like, Putin has to kill him now, right?
Yeah, he was incredibly public with everything.
Yeah, like Putin was calling the guy a terrorist, and now he's gonna have him in his army again. Like, what? I don't see how this is a good look for Russia. So that's pretty.
The fucking just like every time we get news about that war, I'm like bracing, and then sometimes it's like, I don't know. It's it's always just it's hard to put my feelings into words.
Yeah. I don't necessarily subscribe to the theory that this is like all part of the plan as well. Like he's trying to engineer an excuse. But there is something I do subscribe to, because speaking of subs, so Twitch have changed how partnered streaming works, which means we're no longer Twitch streamers. We won't be pushed around and bullied. More restrictions and regulations never improve these situations. And that's not just my opinion. That's also the opinion of the CEO of a company that run submarine voyages where you can explore Titanic.
Oh my god! This is every time you segue. How did you fucking... Like, I was ready for it every other time and you blindsided me here. I'm so impressed. Like...
I don't even know.
You talked about something else? Like, I kept thinking, how did you fucking jump to it from Twitch?
I don't know
controller?
If I don't really want to talk too much about this one. The entire time it was in the news, I felt vaguely uncomfortable because it... Okay, so the thing is, as far from what I could tell, it was obvious they were dead. Oh, I guess I should explain the situation. Billionaires paid $250K each to get into a homemade submarine to visit Titanic. The problem is the submarine was not regulated and had passed no safety inspections. The only piece of it that was rated to go underwater was the window, which was rated for 1,800 meters, and the Titanic is 4,000 meters. So all the engineers had quit. There was a long paper trail of how bad it was. They had to sign waivers, like, so that their state couldn't sue if they died. They still went. They did die. Now, it was extremely obvious from the very beginning that they were dead. The thing wasn't even made of titanium. It was made of carbon fiber, and it was the carbon fiber was a reject hull piece from a Boeing project that hadn't passed safety inspections. And Boeing are an aerospace company, which means that, to quote Futurama, their things are built to survive atmospheres between 0 and 1, not 400. You know? Like, it was a horrible idea. The controls were like a Logitech gaming controller. Yeah. Everything about it was obviously a terrible idea. They're all dead. It was very obvious they were dead from the beginning. Instead, we got 3 days of the news cycle blasting a live countdown of how much air they would have if they were alive, which they weren't. And, like, time's running out. And it was so weird. Like, it was a mixture of the sort of the fascination of it. Like, everybody was fascinated with the idea they could still be alive, even though it was obvious they weren't.
So,
and, like, the false
morbid.
hope. But it was also really uncomfortable because if you consider that they're already dead, the way that it was made newsworthy was basically like rich people dying for once, and the weekly occurrence of a ship of refugees sinking in the British Channel, like no one cares about that, but like for rich people, very weird news cycle, and so it's almost a relief. I mean, okay, this will sound morbid. I was truly relieved when the news broke that the debris field had been discovered, because it meant that they died quickly.
Yeah.
Now, at the level of pressure that they were under, apparently, any, like, problem with the structural integrity of the vessel. It would essentially have compressed fast enough that the friction would ignite the air inside the submarine. So it would explode and implode at the same time. And this would happen like faster than the human brain can register sensory input. So they wouldn't have felt anything. They might have heard like a noise, but probably not. Like it would have been instant.
That does actually make me feel better about it, because everything about this has felt real. By everything about this, I mean like especially the news cycle, and also on the other side, the memeage of it. Everything has just been really uncomfortable. I feel like.
I think what was weird for me is people hoping they were still alive. Like, oh, we just have to hold out hope that they'll be found, and it was like. It was very obvious. So there are a limited number of vessels that can go that. Like, okay, assuming we knew exactly where they were from day one, there are a very limited number of vessels that can go that deep. So you would need a vessel that can go that deep to be there, which takes time, get down there, which takes time. And then what? They can't lift them. It weighs 11 tons. It's not even buoyant. If it was free, it wouldn't float to the surface. Like,
yeah,
it floats 30 meters below the surface. So, and this is assuming we knew where it was. And then, even if it did come to the surface, like let's say the submarine lifted it, it's welded shut. It doesn't have a door. So they would still suffocate unless we got a second machine or a ship or something that had like the power tools to open it up again. The time was very tight. Maybe if they had located it within the first day, it could have been like something could have happened. But honestly, during those last 24 hours, when it was known that there was nothing that could be done, the people hoping they were still alive was kind of ghoulish. Like, I'm glad they died instantly and that they didn't suffer and that they didn't know, you know, whatever. Now, I also kind of wish that instead of this weird media circus, we could focus on, like, the value of human lives detached from the wealth of the person that, you know, they belong to. But I guess that's too much of a vain hope. But thankfully it's over.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I felt like, you know, we're doing a news thing, and that's why, so every segue I thought you were going here, I was like, ugh. Yeah. And then it was always something else. I was like, oh, okay.
I saw a picture of the Logitech controller on the seafloor, but I think it was fake. Like, I think it was a meme.
I think, yeah, I saw that same one.
Because I have to assume it hasn't survived.
One interesting thing about this that's not like not as morbid because it's not focused on the people. Apparently Logitech's stock has notably dropped.
Yeah, it dropped like 5%, which obviously for Logitech is a lot.
It's like, I don't understand investors. I don't understand stock people. I don't get it.
It's really weird because, like, that wasn't the problem with it.
Yeah.
Like, it was partly the issue was just that he was using a wireless controller. Which, like, yeah, that's a great idea on a submarine. I don't know.
Yeah.
They didn't have any means of communicating with the surface. It was just like a phone. Like, they text you when they are close enough that they can get the signal through the water. I mean, everything about it, I don't know. It's been gone over so much. I don't know if we have anything to add. I just had to mention it because it, like, dominated this week.
Yeah, I think, like, it had to be mentioned. I don't have anything to add other than just, like, everything about it just felt so fucking morbid and just bad. And I was not a fan of the last few days.
Yeah. So, some other news, and this is just a brief one. But we had some video game announcements, and that was a couple of weeks ago now. But I thought I'd mention a couple of titles that I think might be interesting to Charlie. So, obviously we saw Starfield, and that's coming out pretty soon. Mm-hmm. There was an Elder Scrolls 6 trailer, but that's not coming out for like 6 years apparently, so ignore it.
Yeah.
I did see...
Starfield...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, Starfield is part of that, like, Microsoft Bethesda thing they're doing where it's going to be on Game Pass day one, which is
that's
neat.
Interesting. I didn't even think of that. I don't really get how people can be hyped for it. I would love it to be good, but I don't understand how you can think it will be. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, especially, like, on day one, it's going to be a broken buggy mess because it's a Bethesda game. Like I can get maybe being excited for like the modded Starfield in a year from now.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I don't really
Yeah.
get. I don't get it.
Other games though, I saw the trailer for Senua's Sacrifice 2, and it looked really good
yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
I've never beaten the first. I've played it, but I never finished it, and I need to finish the first one because I really liked it. But I know that that's a Charlie game.
Yeah, I always, like, I meant to get over myself. I avoided it initially because it was devs that made the DMC reboot I hated.
Uh-oh.
But clearly Senua Sacrifice is
not,
a lot better than
yeah,
that.
it's not an action game at all. It's like barely, yeah, it's barely got a combat system. Let's see, only looking at like Charlie games. Oh yeah, there's an Obsidian RPG that got announced called Avowed, but we didn't see very much about it.
Yeah.
It looked pretty good. I'm hopeful. I love Tyranny, but the latest Obsidian game, was it Outer Worlds, wasn't amazing. So I don't.
Yeah.
There was a Destiny trailer, and I thought it was terrible. I know Charlie likes Destiny too. I thought this trailer was awful. It was basically Ikora being sad and telling Cade, like, you remember that, and then recapping the events of all of the season passes of the last year because people can't play them because they're not in the game anymore.
Yeah.
And also Cade 6 is alive now. Which,
oh,
like,
is he? Okay.
yeah,
I didn't fully
Cade
watch
6
it.
back. Cool, thank you.
Gotcha.
Like, really? Like, didn't they kill him off because the voice actor was too expensive? And like, what have they got Nolan North now? Like, are they just doing Nolan North?
He's the ghost and Cade.
I don't know. Like, what is even like?
Yeah,
he was one of
yeah.
the only characters that actually died permanently and had stakes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, actually. Oh my god, wait. Yeah, because I guess Destiny 2 spoilers. Even when you get revenge on the guy that killed him, he comes back.
Don't
too.
worry, you can't spoil Destiny 2 because those levels aren't in the game anymore. Can you tell we're salty?
What I hate about Destiny is that I still feel at least somewhat invested, and that's what bothers me the most.
Cade was a really cool and likable character. And they
Well,
killed him
like,
off
that-
for emotional stakes, and
Yeah.
okay, now you have to live with that. You can't bring him back. Fuck you.
Destiny's setting and lore I really like, and then it just, when I think about the game itself, it's just heart pain.
Yeah. So I wrote down some quotes. These are for Ryan though. And
Okay, yes.
I have from Senua's Sacrifice. There was, "You might see me as weak, but I will show you what lies behind my eyes." I thought you'd like that one.
It's not bad. I respect it.
Avowed had, "Is an oath worth the weight of a crown?" I thought you'd like that.
That one's very good.
And then I have a final surprise mention in this segment. I have a quote. "How far can you fly on stolen wings?" From small indie game Armored Core 6 Fires of the Rubicon.
That line got me fucking hyped. That's so good.
And it's available for pre-purchase on Steam. Don't pre-order games.
Don't.
But if you were to do it, this is what Ryan would pre-order.
Maybe. I only pre-order stuff that reviews come out a week before, and there's a playable demo, and you're going to buy it day one anyways. I think that's the only time you should pre-order, because then it's just saving yourself the like having to wait for it to download or whatever. But that's the only time it's acceptable, I feel.
I'm playing the trailer, but I don't think the sound is going to come through, so it'll just be visuals. But I've never played an Armored Core game, but I know Ryan loves it, so I'm very curious.
What's getting me is it was either from an article or from people that got to play it at some event. Like, I saw some headline or article clip or something along the lines where they're talking about how like it despite the devs saying it's not Souls-ish, that they felt that Souls juice in it. But like, I don't know if the person that said that had ever played an Armored Core game, so I'm taking that with the biggest grain of salt. And anyone that listens to this should too.
Should it feel Soulsy? I mean, is there any Souls DNA? I mean, other than the devs and Feed the Fire?
In the older games, I would say like no, maybe apart from like dodging is really important, but that's
Okay.
just kind of like action
Yeah,
games
so it's
in
just an
general.
action game. I am watching the trailer, and as we're talking, I got "Let the Cinders Burn" or whatever. Like, so
Yeah,
there is
yeah.
definitely some imagery and like the desolate landscape and stuff.
Yeah, so that is one thing is that I there is a chance that that review person might be correct, especially like a lot of I think that all the prior Armored Core games took place on Earth, and this they're like full on some like sci-fi planet, and it looks like the visual scapes are a lot more like fantastical and so on.
The
So
trailer's
that's
sick. It looks really good.
yeah, the trailer's
Um,
very cool.
so it's gonna have action, like it's got missions, right? Like you go, you load into a mission, you drop, and then you go and you kill everything.
Yeah, yeah. The traditional Armored Core is like the missions themselves are fairly short, but then you're constantly like unlocking new like pieces and like new weapons and stuff. And so like half the game is doing a mission, and then half the game is you're in the garage like tweaking stuff and like testing out like,
Cool.
oh, I kind of like these rockets more than these other
So what
rockets.
you're saying is it could be Charlie mode. Charlie mode is when you have a car and you
Yeah,
lift
yeah,
it up on
yeah.
jacks and like change the bits inside the car. Yeah, I think it'll probably be good. I have never disliked a FromSoft game, so uh,
I have high hope. I have very high hope. It's all I've ever wanted since Dark Souls 3 came out. So
there are some other like games that have been announced recently. There are so many that I kind of can't like list them all.
yeah.
But there was like a Fable sequel, and it had Richard
Um,
Ayoade in it, and I like him.
Yeah, and the internet got weird because a girl wasn't as hot as she could be or something.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Cringe.
Yeah, they
Fable
got
is like
cringe.
a
It's what
weird
they
one
do.
because it's like a cult classic franchise, but I feel like it's not as good as people say. I've played like Fable 3 or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it had good
I
parts, but
I played a lot of Fable 1, 2, and 3, and I would even say I love Fable, but Fable is kind of shit. I don't think there's a good Fable game, but I love every Fable game I've played.
yeah.
They're all kind of bad though. I'm excited for another. I'll take it.
Yeah. Now I have
It's charming
another.
enough.
I saw an interesting thing. There's a trucking simulator game that had an ad for a real life trucking company that were like hiring,
Oh,
which is kind of funny. I don't like ads, but I feel like that one is just I'll make a pass. I think the trucking sim games they really liked it. They were like, oh, it's so immersive now that the ads are more realistic, and it's like okay. Um,
I can
so,
respect that in the sense of it's like there are people who play thousands of hours of those games,
yeah.
and so I do like a company being like, you know, if you really like this,
Yeah, yeah. Now, the sad part being, of course, that the reason that they are trying to hire is because they just don't pay enough. Like, truckers,
oh,
when I was growing up, I mean, we don't have them. I'm not American. But I always heard about truckers as being really well paid in exchange for, like, a super hard job with long hours.
yeah.
They don't, they haven't really gotten pay raises for a while.
Oh no, that I didn't know. That's too bad.
It's all right. There's an Alien game that's like XCOM, but like in the Alien setting, which I mean it looks
Yeah.
good, but like I don't really get the xenomorphs. That's like how do you do enemy variety and like tactical combat against xenomorphs? I don't.
Yeah, he's a sneaky guy that crawls around with acid. It's like you just
I
like
feel
10
like it would get
variations
really
of that.
tedious, but maybe the game's not very long.
Yeah, yeah.
And that game
Metaphor.
released recently.
Oh, oh. I'm trying to. Which one? I wonder.
Final Fantasy.
Oh
X,
yes.
VI.
Yes, it's very fucking good.
Is it good?
Very
Okay,
good.
interesting. I've not played it.
I love it so far. It's probably going to be easily top 3 FF for me from what I have played.
Awesome. Why don't we use that as a segue to get into
Yeah.
our Final Fantasy?
Yeah, let's get into this one. That's
And,
a lot
and
of
you can
other
tell me
people's
about
top
16
3.
as we go.
Yeah.
So,
Uh
what's up?
Oh, sorry. I was just waiting for the screen thing to click on, and then
Oh,
it made a
you
noise.
see it, right?
That's my bad. Hasn't I don't think you're just screen sharing.
Okay, as well as streaming.